Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, we're all swimming in so much information every day, just loads of it.
It's overwhelming sometimes.
It really is. And finding actual meaning in it all, that's the real challenge. So today, we're diving into something pretty fascinating.
We are. We're looking at a source that takes a story many of us think we know and just turns it on its head, really, metaphysically speaking.
Exactly. We're aiming for those aha moments, the kind you can actually connect with. So what's our source material for this deep dive?
We're drawing from Dr. Roy E. Richmond's The Sacred Rhythm and Dance, a metaphysical book of Acts. Specifically, we're focusing on the excerpts dealing with Acts chapter 9.
Okay, great.
And it's all about looking beyond the literal story of Saul's conversion.
Right. So our mission today is to unpack that metaphysical angle, what Saul's transformation tells us about, inner awakening, our own resistance, spiritual purpose, all that good stuff.
It's designed to help you get a deep understanding quickly, but thoroughly.
Perfect. Okay, let's dive in. So the source kicks off with Saul, and it paints this really intense picture. He's still breathing threats and resistance, rooted in religious zeal, just projecting condemnation everywhere.
It's a strong image.
It really is.
Yeah.
But metaphysically, who is Saul in this interpretation? What does he represent?
Well, that's the core of it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
He's not just some guy from history. He represents the awareness formed by strong religious intellect and tradition.
Oh,
His name even means restrained, constrained, made small. He's basically the egoic mind, shaped by all that religious instruction. Maybe well-intentioned, but fundamentally out of sync with the inner spirit.
and that phrase, breathing threats, that's got to be more than just him yelling at people, right?
Oh, absolutely. It points straight to his internal thought life. See, breath, in this context, symbolizes awareness and intention.
Right.
So
Okay.
is his whole inner state filled with fear, needing control, trying to force everyone outside to conform because he's suppressing that inner transformation.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like an internal battle spilling outwards.
exactly.
So you've got Saul on one side, the religious ego, the external law, and then the source talks about these disciples of the Spirit. How are they described? What's the clash here?
They're the opposite, really. They are practicing inward alignment with the voice of divine breath. They're guided from within, not by the outer court of religion.
So not rules, but spirit.
Precisely. And that contrast right there shows that dynamic tension that always happens when real awakening starts to challenge old, ingrained traditions. The old versus the new, essentially.
And Saul, chasing after outer authority, really highlights that struggle. He goes to the high priest asking for letters of authority to go after people following the way. What's the symbolism there?
Well, the high priest is in spirit, obviously. He symbolizes the peak of outer law. It's mankind trying to manage and control access to the divine, through rules, rituals, hierarchies.
Right, the structure.
Exactly. And those letters of authority, they picture the written mandates, the traditions that try to validate the ego's attempt to, well, imprison this awakening awareness. It's relying on literal words and rules to squash the free flow of spirit.
Trying to put spirit in a box.
Couldn't have said it better.
And what about the way itself? It's not just a label, is it?
No, not at all. That was the original term for followers of Jesus' teachings. It wasn't really a religion back then, more like a spiritual movement.
Okay.
Metaphysically, it represents the sacred path of union with divine mind. It's that whole journey from feeling separate or mistaken about who you are into the light of realizing I exist, your true divine nature.
It's an inner path, not an outer club.
Exactly. It's a process for all of us, really, moving beyond the limited idea of yourself.
So Saul heads to Damascus, planning to drag these people back to Jerusalem. But you're saying these places aren't just dots on a map in this view.
Definitely not. This is where it gets really interesting. Damascus, its name relates to activity of blood, or silent is the sackcloth weaver. It symbolizes a place of inherited awareness, emotional energy, and transformational suffering.
Wow. Okay.
So ironically, he's going there to stop awakening, but it's the exact place his own massive transformation kicks off.
And dragging them back to Jerusalem, what does that represent?
Jerusalem symbolizes the old guard, basically.
Hmm.
The attempt of old religious awareness to pull awakened understanding back into its former structures.
Like trying to force the new wine back into old wineskins.
That's a perfect analogy. It's that pull back to the familiar, the old temple consciousness, even when it's holding you back.
Okay, so Saul's getting close to Damascus, this symbolic zone of unconscious stuff and inherited beliefs, and bam, this light from the realm of divine awareness hits him. But Dr. Richmond stresses this isn't like a spotlight from the sky. Yeah.
Absolutely critical point. It's not an outer event, but an inner revelation. Think of it like a sudden burst of divine understanding that just shatters Saul's rigid belief system from the inside.
An inner light bulb moment, but like cosmic scale.
Kind of. It's described as the sacred illumination of inner truth, piercing right through all that dogma he was carrying.
And this experience brings him low to the earth. What's the deep meaning of that collapse? Why is that significant?
Being brought low signifies a collapse of old understanding. All that intellectual pride, his dogmatic certainty, it just crumbles.
Crumbling.
Extremely. But it creates this space for rebirth. You have to clear the old ground before you can build something new and true. It's letting go of the ego's grip.
And it's not just light, there's also a sound, a radiant tone speaking into his sacred self. Can you unpack sacred self here? And how is a tone different from just a voice?
Good question. The sacred self is your core essence, your pure spiritual identity, separate from the everyday ego or personality. So this radiant tone isn't something you hear with your ears. It's deeper. It's a vibration, a resonance from the divine mind, speaking directly into that true inner being. It's a felt sense, a deep inner knowing.
Wow. And the question that comes from this inner source is incredibly direct. Saul, why do you continue to resist and pursue the very essence of who you are? That cuts right to the chase.
It really is the turning point. It's not just about his outward actions. It's challenging his very identity. Why are you fighting the divine likeness in yourself and in others?
It forces him to look inward.
Completely. It exposes his inner conflict with startling clarity, makes him confront his own motivations.
So Saul, totally bewildered, asks, "Who are you, source of this vibration?" And the answer is key. I exist as spirit, the consecrated messenger, the embodiment of your divine identity whom you have resisted, or famously, I am Jesus whom you pursue.
And crucially, this is presented not as a condemnation, but an unveiling.
Not an accusation.
No, it's revealing the truth. To pursue others walking in spiritual movement is to resist the oneness identity within oneself. It connects his outer actions directly to his inner struggle. He sees, maybe for the first time, that attacking them was attacking a part of himself.
That's profound. It links everything together.
It really does. It shows him his connection to everyone and to his own hidden true self.
So then the instruction comes. Now arise in new awareness and enter into the sacred city of instruction. That sounds like more than just get up and go into town.
Oh, much more. It's not geography, but a call to ascend into a new state of awareness, a higher state where instruction from within can begin.
So the real teaching starts after the surrender.
Exactly. Once Saul lets go of the old ways, the message is, you will be taught by Spirit. It suggests our own big shifts often start when we finally face our resistance and become willing to learn from that deeper inner place.
Okay, so Saul's had this massive inner experience. What about the guys traveling with him? The source calls them outer faculties of awareness who just stood speechless. They felt something, but didn't get the message.
Right, and that's a key metaphysical distinction. It shows how spiritual truth is revealed inwardly, not by physical perception.
Okay.
It draws a dividing line between carnal awareness and spiritual awareness. Basically, our everyday logic and senses often just short-circuit when faced with deep inner revelation.
They can't process it.
They can't. These lower faculties are still stuck on logic, tradition, and outer sight. They sense the energy shift, maybe, but they miss the actual vision and the voice.
And then Saul goes blind. His physical vision was sealed. He's stripped of his old sight. That sounds pretty drastic, but the source says it's not a punishment. How does being blind help him?
It sounds harsh, but think of it as protection and preparation, a total system reboot. His old way of seeing based on external laws, judgment, ego had to be shut down. So the blindness isn't just physical, it's symbolic. It forces him to stop relying on the outside world, on his intellect, and start relying on something else.
On the inner guidance.
Exactly. The outer world has to go dim for the inner vision to really ignite. It's a necessary step.
So being guided by the unseen, led by the hand, he literally has to trust something beyond his senses now.
Yes, he now must trust something deeper than intellect. He's actively learning to be led by inner guidance, even when the familiar outer senses are gone.
And Damascus, the place he was going to cause trouble,
now becomes a birthing chamber for spiritual vision for him. The very place of intended suppression becomes the place of profound awakening. Amazing twist.
That is amazing. And then these 3 days of incubation, he's just still. No
Yeah.
food, no water. That sounds incredibly intense. What's happening metaphysically during that silence?
It is intense, but it's full of purpose.
Okay.
First, the number 3 often signifies divine fullness and spiritual completion. So these 3 days are like a spiritual incubation period, a sacred pause. The seed of inner truth is forming in silence.
Okay.
He's not eating or drinking externally because he's not being fed from without. He's being rewired from within. It's described as the sacred hush before revelation. Like a caterpillar in a cocoon, the old has to dissolve for the new to emerge.
So it's not about depriving himself.
Not at all. It is consecration. It's that stepping away from the noise, you know? We all need that sometimes, just that quiet space to integrate something really deep.
That makes sense. So after this intense internal rewiring, Ananias enters the picture, described as one who listens and responds from spirit. His name means Yah is gracious. Who is Ananias in this interplay?
Ananias represents the part of us that lives from inner devotion, that intuitive aspect that's ready to hear spirit and act on it.
Okay.
When spirit spoke in a vision to him, it means a clarity that arises in the inner chamber of awareness. Again, not an outer picture show.
Right, inner clarity.
And Ananias' response, "Here I am," is perfect. It represents the voice of the sacred self, fully yielded and attentive. Just total inner readiness and receptivity.
And spirit tells him to go down the sacred perception named straight. What's the straight street?
Straight Street represents the path of clear and unbending truth. It's about aligning your awareness directly with spiritual order, getting rid of the mental twists and turns, and just perceiving clearly.
Going straight to the heart of the matter.
Exactly. No detours.
And he's sent to the house of Judas. Now that name carries a lot of baggage betrayal, right? What's the metaphysical take here?
Yeah, that's a really interesting layer. In this reading, going to the house of Judas signifies a willingness to enter even those perceptions formerly rooted in betrayal or mistaken identity.
Okay, so confronting difficult parts.
Right. Judas here could represent a part of Saul's inner world still reconciling truth and tradition, some area of inner conflict or past error that needs to be faced and healed, integrated into the new awareness.
So while Ananias is getting instructions, Saul himself is in stillness and alignment, turning inward in spiritual receptivity. His own process is continuing. He's not just waiting passively.
Absolutely not. The source says Saul has already seen through his inner vision a man named Ananias entering and placing clarity upon his awareness.
So he's already getting glimpses.
Yes. It shows Saul is already beginning to receive spiritual perception. He's actively participating in his own healing and awakening.
And the instruction for Ananias is to perform a laying on of hands. What does that symbolize here? Is it a physical act?
No, not literally physical in this interpretation. It's symbolic of spiritual alignment being brought to his sacred self.
Okay.
So that he can see clearly with single-eye vision, seeing truth directly. Hands, in this context, represent spiritual capacity, healing, and impartation of spiritual energy. It's like an inner spiritual transmission, boosting his clarity.
Got it. But Ananias, even though he's this awareness of inner devotion, he still has some hesitation, doesn't he? He brings up Saul's past.
He does. He says essentially, look, this Saul awareness has been really destructive. He's hurt people who walk in spiritual understanding.
That sounds very human.
It totally mirrors our own inner conversation, right? When spirit nudges us to heal or embrace a part of ourselves that has caused pain or been problematic, that little voice of doubt or fear.
Yeah, definitely.
Ananias also notes that Saul still carries perceived authority from the chief priests of law. Those chief priests symbolize those dominant old beliefs, the ingrained legalism.
The old programming.
Exactly. And the fear is about being bound, restricted spiritually. The worry is that those old paradigms will reassert themselves, that the past conditioning will just take over again.
But Spirit offers reassurance and reveals Saul's new, totally different purpose. How is he described now?
Spirit basically says, don't worry about the past. This Saul awareness is now a chosen vessel, a container specifically set apart to carry essence to the many dimensions of awareness.
Wow, from persecutor to chosen vessel.
Complete 180. He's repurposed. It really drives home the point that even the parts of us that seem most resistant or destructive can be transformed and used for something amazing.
And the mission is huge, reaching different states of being. What kinds of awareness is he meant to impact?
It's broad. First, the far-off Gentile states of being, interpreted as those unawakened or fragmented states of being within consciousness.
Okay.
Then, embodied rulers of thought, those powerful governing beliefs or core assumptions that shape our reality.
Okay, core beliefs.
Exactly. And finally, the children of the spiritual inheritance, those parts that have a connection to spirit but are still, maturing or developing. It's about bringing light to all these internal areas.
That's a really comprehensive intermission. Now, the source mentions the intensity of transformation and that he will suffer. What kind of suffering are we talking about here? It's not punishment, right?
Right, definitely not punishment. The things he must suffer are described as the pressures and stretching that come with fully embodying spiritual truth in a resistant world.
Ah, so it's the friction.
Exactly. When you start living from this awakened place, it inevitably confronts systems of illusion, both within and without. So you might challenge your own old limiting beliefs or maybe societal expectations, family patterns, anything that doesn't align with this new inner truth.
So the suffering is the discomfort of growth and confronting illusion.
Precisely. It's the feeling of your inner clarity pushing against and reshaping your reality, internal and external. And that process can definitely feel like a struggle sometimes.
Okay, that makes sense. So Ananias, reassured, goes into the house, the inner dwelling, and places his hands, his spiritual capacity, on Saul. This is the moment.
It is the movement and action of spiritual impartation.
Yeah.
And significantly, Ananias calls him Brother Saul.
Recognizing the connection.
Yes, acknowledging that even the Saul awareness is part of the whole. Beautiful unity there. Then he says, receive your spiritual sight restored, which means, again, seeing with the single eye, not the duality of law versus spirit, moving beyond black and white thinking.
Getting that holistic vision back.
Exactly. And also be saturated with the inner flow of holy breath.
Which means
Deep, conscious union with divine inspiration, a full reconnection to the inner flow of spirit life, just total renewal, soaking in that divine essence.
and then pow, the scales fall. Immediately, as if scales had fallen away, Saul's awareness was cleared. What an image.
It's so powerful, isn't it? It signifies the removal of distorted perception. All those veils, religious tradition, false beliefs, the limits of outer law, they just drop away.
And his sight returns.
Yes, but not just physically, but metaphysically. He now sees as spirit sees. He's literally viewing the world and himself through a brand new lens of truth and oneness.
And when he arises, it pictures a shift in vibration.
Completely. He's no longer stuck in that old human-made awareness. He begins to live from the resurrected awareness of spirit.
In being baptized.
Here, it means being fully immersed into the consciousness of divine spiritual movement. A complete cleansing and merging with this new way of being.
Okay, and finally, his strength returns, and he takes nourishment. Still symbolic. Still symbolic. It represents receiving from spirit, not just literal food, but feeding from divine understanding.
Ah, spiritual food.
Yes. And then dwelling in union with those already established in sacred awareness at Damascus, that pictures him aligning with those spiritual thoughts that have already begun the journey of awakening.
So he shifts from being the hunter to being the student.
Exactly. Total humility now. Seeking nourishment from that awakened consciousness he used to persecute.
And this change isn't gradual, it's immediate. Straightway, Saul began to speak within the awareness temples. What are these temples, and what does acting so fast tell us?
These temples represent the sacred spaces of thought, those higher parts of our consciousness that used to be ruled by law and tradition.
Okay?
And his immediate action just shows the urgency of awakened awareness. When you see truth clearly, you often feel compelled to share it, to express it. And he's speaking now from affirmation, not accusation, a complete flip.
And the message itself is different, too. He's not preaching a man named Jesus, but something more universal. Yes, he's declaring the inner realization that Jesus, their consecrated messenger, revealed the truth of our own union with Father. It's about our own inner divinity, our own connection. He becomes a voice of affirmation.
So less about worshiping an external figure, more about realizing the potential within.
That's the core of the metaphysical interpretation here.
Okay, so how do people react? They must be stunned.
Totally. All those perceiving him were astonished. They're saying, is this not the one who once wreaked havoc and came here specifically to bind this kind of awareness and drag it off?
That sounds like our own inner critic sometimes.
It absolutely represents the reaction of our own inner voices of doubt and memory. That part of us that struggles to believe such a radical shift is even possible in ourselves or others.
That internal resistance again. And Jerusalem gets mentioned again here, right? In their astonishment.
Yes, they remember him attacking the awakened ones back in Jerusalem, which metaphysically means that place of inner peace and completeness. Their astonishment is a form of egoic resistance, that hesitation to really accept that transformation can happen.
The old mind clinging to the past narrative.
Precisely.
But Saul doesn't let their doubt stop him. He waxed strong and increased in understanding, strength, and clarity. He actually confounded the dualistic awareness systems in Damascus. That's incredible.
It really is. This increasing in strength isn't physical, it's the building up of inner clarity and spirit-guided perception. He's actively confronting those old systems, built on external law, guilt, and separation.
How does he confound them?
He basically disarms them. He's not just passively changed, he becomes this active force for truth, dismantling those limiting beliefs from the inside out.
And that final point is so crucial. He does not argue doctrine, he embodies the message.
Yes, the very fact of his transformation becomes the proof that Jesus' teachings were about inner awakening, not out of religion.
His life becomes the evidence.
Exactly. Confounding them means disarming old awareness by beginning to live from a higher frequency of truth. He doesn't need to win a debate. His transformed being is the irrefutable argument. It's the ultimate demonstration of inner awakening.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up, we've really unpacked Acts 9 through this metaphysical lens from Dr. Richmond's work. It transforms the story, doesn't it?
It really does.
Saul's journey from that fierce resistance based on outer rules to this profound inner illumination and alignment with spirit, it becomes this universal map of internal transformation. Less history, more soul psychology, maybe.
That's a good way to put it. It's about moving from outer authority to inner knowing, trusting that inner voice, finding your true spiritual purpose.
And hopefully digging into it like this helps you, the listener, not just know more about an interpretation, but gives you a lens maybe to look at your own journey.
Yeah, where are you encountering resistance? Where are those deeply ingrained traditions or beliefs being challenged by an inner awakening? It offers a framework for understanding those dynamics within yourself.
Recognizing those internal patterns and seeing that, well, transformation is genuinely possible, even from the most stuck places.
Absolutely.
It really is powerful stuff. So here's something to maybe just mull over until our next deep dive. What inner Saul, that resistant part, or what inner Damascus, that place of potential transformation, might be waiting for its own profound transformative light within your consciousness right now?
Good question to sit with.